Welcome back. I'm on part 5 of my streaming adventure. So let's just get started. Honestly, I'm kind of a little depressed today, so just gonna be getting right to it without much introduction. I'm gonna be looking for a random sim. I sort of am like predictable in terms of how I go onto the world map. So let's try the like outer bounds. The problem with this thing is like you have to zoom in really far for sims to start showing up. I think it's kind of interesting just to analyze the space here for the world map. Another thing, if you zoom out too far, the sims stop resing, like they just blink out of existence, which is kind of annoying. This seems to be the absolute limit, but sometimes they just blink out of existence regardless. But I mean, like, it's hard to get a feeling for how vast this space is. But if you just think about the capacity of Second Life for having a nearly infinite number of simulators running. I mean, obviously there's a physical limitation there with having servers and processing power and bandwidth and all that, but I mean, if you just look at the world map in Second Life, realistically it's very sparsely populated. I mean, not even... Wow, this is a huge development. Not even... I'd say probably not even a tenth, maybe not even 100th of the total space that's in this map zone is populated with sims. So talk about room for expansion. Here's the mainland. This is the oldest, let's see, what would you call it, continually habitated. Is that even a word? Habitated. My brain is just like not working today. Yeah, this is like the oldest region, and actually I don't know if this is the actual mainland because I can't even tell where the hell I am on this map right now. Somewhere in this vast, spacious, vacuous void of virtuality, there is a place called the mainland, which is like the original space. I think this is actually the mainland. Did I actually finally find it? It's not like it says mainland. It's not like any of these clusters are broken up into regions or zones or anything. At least on the world map, they're just kind of like splattered wherever. I used to... Oh yeah, I know how I can find where the mainland is. Okay, let's go to my old home. This is so hilarious. Okay, so this is my old place. This is where I used to actually own a large, well, not own, because you never own anything in Second Life, but I owned a big chunk of land here. I can't remember exactly how many square meters it was. I think it was a quarter of a sim. Yeah, anyway, well, let me tell you the whole story. Wow, this has gone off in a completely different direction than I was originally planning. I hope you can cope with that. Keep in mind the chat's always open. If you want to just say something over there, that's fine too. I can actually read it since the window's up on the screen. Anyway, I don't even remember how I found this place. It was, I think when I first learned that you could buy land in Second Life. And I don't even know when that was. Like, it certainly wasn't when I first started playing. It was later on. And then I learned that if you look on the world map and then you zoom in, you'll find, and if you check this little box up here, you'll find yellow areas like this, which is actually, this is one of the coolest features about Second Life, honestly. So these yellow boxes are land that's for sale, and there's these little tags here. And if you click on them or hover over them, I think it is clicking on them. Yeah, if you click on them, it actually tells you how much land and what the price is. I don't know if you can buy directly. I think you have to go to the land to buy it. I'm not sure. It's been so long. But anyway, like, so I saw one of those little yellow boxes on the map, and I was just curious because I was like, let me see what the deal is, because I'd never bought any land in Second Life, and I teleported there, and the first thing I noticed, I mean, it was kind of a little bit different than normal because the my draw distance was really short. In fact, I can sort of like recreate the conditions here. Anyway, so I res, and I'm like right on this little mountaintop, and I'm looking out, and I can see the sparkling ocean and this huge blank space. It was just cool. I was like, wow, am I like on the top of a little mountain here? And like there's a road right nearby, and for those who don't know, this is kind of an interesting dynamic about Second Life that's so bizarre. It's just like just thinking about it kind of breaks my brain. But on the mainland, which is this continent I'm on, Linden Labs, the owners of Second Life, did this really bizarre thing where they created their own like weird old-timey infrastructure. So they have like these fake highways that run all over the continent, and if you zoom in, you can actually see them on the map. Like they go from one end to the other. I think they form a loop too. I'm not sure, but they span like the entire continent. And the reason that this is really weird and bizarre, and I'll explain this in a second, like Second Life is broken up into grids. In fact, they call it a grid. So like everything is on a grid, and yet the roads are organic, right? They just cut through every freaking thing. This is like real life. The zoning and stuff. I mean, you can see how the boundary for this giant plot of land here is cut like at a zigzaggy, jagged edge, because the road's just cutting right through there. It's like completely disregarding the grid. So the problem with that is Linden Lab owns this land. Like you can't buy this land, you can't rent it or lease it or whatever. It's like just there, breaking up the terrain, and you have to deal with that. Like you have to work around it. Some people actually think that's a benefit because the idea, I guess, behind these roads or this interstate system was that there would be some kind of traffic on this road, like that people would actually be driving vehicles and stuff on the road like in real life, and then that's why people put up these ridiculous billboards that nobody ever sees and stuff, because like somebody thinks that there's going to actually be traffic on these roads, but no, there isn't. What there is a robotic bot cars that are like scripted to drive back and forth endlessly on these roads. You'll see them driving by every once in a while, which is kind of funny to see them. But occasionally, you know, a resident will drive on one of these roads too, like an actual human, because there are cars in Second Life, and that's kind of a big industry. However, the problem with these roads is that every one of these boxes is like its own simulator, and this line around the box is called a sim boundary. And the problem is when you cross over that boundary, the server has to like hand off the data from one server to another, and that causes a jag or a lag. I mean, it's a lot more smooth now than it used to be, but in the past it was so bad that like you'd be driving on this road and you'd hit that sim boundary and you would just like completely stop, and then when you got to the next sim it would sometimes pick up where it left off. Like you can see there's a sim boundary right there where the road transitions, and it will actually like load or unload based on where you're positioned. So yeah, like you couldn't really drive on these roads because of that sim boundary, so it kind of precluded the whole idea of there being an interstate system in Second Life. but they left it there anyway, and it's still there. It's like, it's just hilarious. So anyway, when I first rezzed on this parcel, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Oh, hey, some actual chat action. Hey there, Pippi444. So yeah, like, I saw this road and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll see cars going by every once in a while, which you actually do, even though they're robots. And anyway, it was just a cool view. I was just kind of struck by how spacious and up on this little hill I was. So I was like, cool, I think I'm gonna actually buy some or rent some land in Second Life. So I did. I bought like a tiny little parcel. At the time it was like the absolute minimum size, and then later on I bought more and more adjacent parcels. I bought like a billboard parcel that someone had put up, and I was like negotiating with people trying to buy up more and more land until I had this huge chunk, like I said, like a quarter of a sim. It was massive, a massive amount of land, because I had a sandbox, which is a place where anyone can come and build. And that was my dream, was to have a sandbox in Second Life where anybody could come and build and work on stuff. But the problem is the prim limit. So like, if you have a small amount of land, you can only build so many things. You can't build very much. So you have to buy more and more land to have the right to build more and more objects. And unfortunately, the more land you have, the more money you have to pay to rent that land. And so it got to be, it was like, I don't know, I was paying like $40, like USD, like real money, $40 a month just to keep this sandbox open, which was a free sandbox. I wasn't charging people to come and use it or anything. You know, the reason I fell in love with the sandbox concept was because that was my introduction to Second Life. I used to go to Galgan, which is one of the biggest and oldest sandbox in Second Life. We'll go there in a second. I just let me up my draw distance again. That's the real downside with draw distance and owning land in Second Life is people just build crap all around you, and pretty soon your beautiful view's gone, and there's a eternally burning building and ugly billboards that nobody ever sees. It's sad. It's like real life, you know. Your neighbors sort of ruin your property value. But anyway, yeah, where the heck was I going? I'm like so lost at this point. Alright, Galgan. Let's go to Galgan. Oh wait. First, one thing first. So yeah, here's the mainland. The oldest continuously occupied region in Second Life. In fact, I think it was the first region that they ever created. And this is different from the rest of the sims, like what are called private islands or private sims that are just out in the middle of nowhere. This is distinguishable because basically the sims are all connected together to form one big landmass, versus if you look out here in the middle of nowhere, there's just these random single simulators. But they call it the mainland because they're all connected, so it's kind of a unique attribute of this area. And since it's the oldest area in Second Life, a lot of these places, some of them have been around forever, but this land is just continuously being traded back and forth. You can see all these yellow zones are land that's for sale. So yeah, anyway, that's the mainland. So you can see it's pretty big. In fact, yeah, it's pretty huge. And there's all these little islands off to the side, and they've expanded on this region. They've added new areas, like they have a new like I think they're called premium estates or something. Like when you first get a Second Life account, you get like a little premium house on this adjacent island. So yeah, that's the mainland. Anyway, let's go to Galgan for a second, because this is like literally was my introduction to Second Life. So this is a Linden-owned sandbox, which is really cool because nobody no individual is paying for this. The company, Linden Labs, is paying for this. And people can come here, anyone can come here, and it's like a full perm sandbox. So you can script, you can build. Like here, check this out. I can just go like, there we go. I just built an object, and then I can, maybe I can script it. I'm not sure. Like new script. Scripting might be turned off. It didn't used to be. Yeah, it's turned off now. Back in the day, you could run scripts on Galgan, and they had like 4 sandboxes, or no, it was more than that. I think 6 sandboxes. Let me see. There used to be 6. Now it looks like there's just 4. So they had like 1 sandbox where you could run scripts, or 2 sandboxes where you could run scripts, and 2 where you couldn't. And so like people were griefing the sandboxes all the time, of course, because anyone could run scripts. So what that means is that people were like running hostile scripts that would like fill the entire simulator with crazy stuff, like giant gifs of penises, or you know, anything you can imagine, like some really offensive stuff, sometimes some like messed up stuff. So eventually they kind of like turned off the scripting for this sim. However, it used to be that there was a sim right next door where the scripts had always been turned off, that you could go to be safe. Nowadays people, they don't build quite as much. It seems like they just come to these sandboxes to res stuff they've bought on the marketplace. Which means like unpacking stuff and inspecting it. Although I'm sure there are still some people who build. Anyway, I used to spend hours and hours here just building in the sandbox, and then like one of my favorite things to do would be just to fly around the sandbox and look for other people who are building stuff. Like here, somebody just dropped a car here. Like I was saying, cars are a pretty big deal in Second Life, because you know, people want to buy it won't let me ride. People want to buy the things in Second Life that they can't have in real life a lot of times, like big mansions or fancy cars, or you know, whatever. But it looks like there's still some people doing stuff in Second Life, or in the sandbox. I'm gonna have to meet this person. I'm gonna turn the voice way down because she has her mic like just wide open, making a lot of noise. So it looks like she's just unpacking stuff that she bought on the marketplace, possibly. Sometimes people are just working on their avatars in these sandboxes, like just hanging out, making changes to their avatars, or trying on clothes, stuff like that. Occasionally you'll find someone who's actually building, which is always kind of cool, because you get to, that's one of the neat things about Second Life, you can watch people building in real time. But I mean, just looking around, you can see this isn't what it used to be. Like you'd come here on an ordinary day, there'd be like 100 people distributed on this complex of sims, all of them building. There'd just be stuff all over the place. Like you couldn't even walk without bumping into something that somebody had built, and now it's pretty much empty. So I guess you could say there is kind of a downside to introducing mesh to this sim, because people don't really seem to spend as much time in the sandboxes. Although there are private sandboxes too that I think a lot of people prefer, because they don't have to worry about getting griefed. But anyway, just suffice it to say, this was a lot cooler back in the day. There was a lot more stuff going on, and it was actually fun to come to these sandboxes and look around and see what people were working on, and to build stuff yourself. But things change. So yeah, anyway, I got way off topic there, but hopefully that little history lesson of Second Life was interesting to a few people. Here's some other sandboxes. Right. I have these bookmarked too. There's like the island sandbox, and then there's a weapons testing sandbox where you can get like damage and stuff, and your avatar can actually get killed if you have like the right stuff on. Oh, that's some demo. Yeah, so this sandbox looks like it's a little more active, maybe because scripts are turned on. Yeah, it looks like you can run scripts on the sandbox, which of course, like, the majority of the things that you do in Second Life require scripts. So if you went to a sandbox that had scripts turned off, it would be pretty useless. And of course you wouldn't be able to like code either. Looks like here's a couple of people actually building stuff. Yeah, this is over here is like a texture chooser, so like when you're building stuff you can pick textures. Hey, this lamppost sure looks familiar. Huh. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of big sandboxes in Second Life. People own them independently too. But anyway, so yeah, that was the sandbox introduction and adventure. Let's look for a random sim out in the middle of nowhere. God, there's so many. I would love to have like a giant printout of the Second Life world map. I think that would be really cool with oh, there's a lot of people in this sim. Tribe, huh? Could be privately owned. I don't know, let's try this one out. Okay. Yeah, when you see a lot of avatars on a sim, and holy shit, that's a lot of avatars. How many people is that? Does it say? 39 people, wow. That's a lot of avatars. When you see a lot of people on an avatar, it usually means one of two things. That it's actually a really amazing sim, or it's just a bunch of bots that are there to attract real people to like a casino type situation, or a sex sim, or God knows what. This looks like it might be in the former category rather than the later. Wow, this is pretty cool. But as you can see, my bit rate here is horrific. I'm getting like 3 frames per second. Downloading at like almost a megabyte of data a second. That's crazy. Yeah, so sorry for the incredibly slow frame rate. You know what I'm going to do is, since I can walk around this sim, I'm going to change the draw distance to the lowest. That usually speeds up the frame rate a bit, although this sim has so much stuff and it's all very high resolution and high poly, so it's just gonna be slow going here for a while. I feel like I was gonna do something. Oh, right. I'm gonna paste the URL into the chat, so if anybody wants to visit this sim, they can do that at their leisure. This deer is really just like captivating me right now because of these antlers. And keep in mind, anything I see in this sim I can inspect and find out who made it, so if you are interested, just let me know. Eva. Made these deer. Look at this neon over here. I gotta check this out because it looks pretty well articulated. Look at that. You got the whole thing, all the tube work, the non-illuminated tube work. That's like a pro level neon synthesis right there. So I don't know anything about this sim. I've never been here before. I can usually like select if I can find a bare spot of ground, which doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to do at this moment. I can find out more info about the sim. So this sim was called Tribe, and that could mean anything. Looks like they've got some really sophisticated stuff going on here. Script monitoring and lag meter. So they must have some kind of sandbox or something. They use that to see if any avatars are using more resources than they should be. Like sometimes an avatar will come to the sim that will just completely hog all the resources and make the experience miserable for everybody else. So someone's actually monitoring that that lag meter, then they can boot the avatar. Sure hope this is an apple fall. Nice. That's kind of cool. This is like a little BDSM ski cabin. Yeah, this is a real resource intensive. Like you got to be like on a T1 line to be able to appreciate this sim. Although even then, it's like the platform itself is gonna be limited to how much it can render and stuff. Here's an actual avatar. Yeah, it's kind of funny in all these videos I've made so far, I haven't really run into anybody else. This is like the first time I've been to a place that has a lot of traffic happening. Look at all this. How much do you want to bet there's some apple fall in here? Like, oh my god, you just can't get away from it. Winter Thorn. Wow, 14 years. That's almost the beginning. That's how old I am in Second Life. I'm like 14 years old. That's crazy though, like in a couple years, just a few years, I'm gonna be like smoking and age in Second Life. My avatar will be an adult. Finally, after all these years. Some really nice assets in here. The fact that she's just sitting there and that's like a real avatar, that kind of suggests that it's some kind of a scheme type thing, like I was talking about earlier, where people actually get paid in Lindens to do stuff like hang out in Sims and just like sit in a chair, and some of them are called like greeters, where they just like engage visitors in conversation and occasionally try to get them to spend money or do stuff like that. Other times they're there just to be a green dot on a map, which draws traffic. Like, you know, I'm here right now in this sim because I saw all those green dots, and one of the main reasons people use Second Life is obviously to engage and socialize with others. So that's something that draws people to Sims, is seeing. They learn very quickly that those green dots mean other people. So when they see those on the map, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go see what's up with that sim. And the more green dots you have on your map, the more people will come and see what's going on, and that in turn just like snowballs, and it creates a critical mass, and then pretty soon you got, 40, 50 people on a sim, and that often will translate into money for some reason. It's not like there are ads on the sim exactly, but I think it's similar to the internet at large in terms of how the business model works, that like the whole game is traffic. The more traffic you can get to your website, the more money you make somehow, just through osmosis. Like this hedge, so I wanted to see who made it. Chris Lehman. Yeah, so a lot of diversity here in the models, which is great, because I haven't even seen a single thing that I've inspected yet being apple fall, so that's kind of cool. Although I'm sure it's only a matter of time. Halo. Huh. Yeah, and if you see anything that stands out to you, just shout it out in the chat, and I'll do an inspection. It's like I walked into some sort of sex thing going on here. Yeah, this is definitely like NC-17, so close your eyes if you're under the age of 18. Ugh, walked all the way up those stairs, and it's an empty attic. Classic Second Life. So yeah, I'm starting to get a feel for this sim. Like, there's some kind of shady sex stuff going on in here to keep people engaged. These are probably all like little sex cabins or something. Or it's like virtual prostitution. I've actually met a lot of honest to God prostitutes in Second Life. There are people who I mean, if you think about it, it's a lot safer than real life, but there's a lot of virtual escorts in Second Life who who have these really quote unquote sexy, aka slutty avatars, and attract lonely, horny males to virtual escort type stuff. This is kind of hilarious for me to be wandering around this sex sim, since I feel sorry for them. I'm here for a completely different reason. I'm only interested in looking at the graphic arts stuff. But yeah, this kind of explains why there's so many green dots on the sim, because obviously sex is one of those things that is a huge attractant, especially in a virtual world where there's virtually no consequences, attachment, or risk to any sort of sexual thing that goes on. Within reason. Obviously there are certain things that are still taboo even in Second Life. This doesn't look like apple fall, but I'm going to check anyway. Siasakeo. I'm really going to have to check out some of these shops later on of these people. This is really cool here. This is these mason jars are just beautiful. Work on that. And the botanicals. Of course, I love birds, so it's like a little Wiccan, witchy play area type thing. A little write down your dreams. Yeah, this sim's all about romance and sexuality and stuff. Huh. That's amazing. I'm blown away that I haven't seen a single apple fall thing yet, and yet they're all pretty much really similar. It's when it comes to creators in Second Life, the people who make all the items and stuff, very often they're all acutely aware of each other, and frequently you'll see, like, as soon as somebody makes something original or comes up with an original idea in Second Life, they will instantly copy, or not copy. I gotta say, like, most of the creators are pretty cool. They're not gonna straight up rip off your stuff, but they're gonna be, like, quote unquote inspired by your creativity and create their own version of whatever it is that you happen to create. And a lot of times creators will each do their own thing too. So this looks like honest to God land. Yeah, so check this out. Sleeping Beauty, AFK, sex and awake roleplay escort rentals. So yeah, like, they're literally being straight up about it. This isn't even like they're not even trying to disguise the fact that they are literally like a prostitution sim. Real girls, beauties, themes, adult escort. Yeah, there's some kind of nasty keywords in there. But yeah, so yeah, this is an aspect of Second Life that honestly, I'm sure has gone a long way towards keeping the platform alive over the years, because most people can't afford to have Sims in Second Life and do all this fancy, amazing landscaping and rezzing objects and stuff. Because, you know, they're paying, like, minimum, like, they paid, like, $1,000 or $2,000 for a setup fee for the sim, and then they're paying, like, $300, $400 a month. I can't remember what it was. Maybe $250 or something like that a month. That's real USD cash to keep possession of this sim. Uh-oh, I'm going to get hit on now. All these cyber prostitutes are going to try to ensnare me into their rather fetching landscape. I gotta say, like, this is a pretty classy simulator. As far as escort services go, I've only been to, like, maybe half a dozen sims like this, like, mainly when I was a lot younger and I was just curious about the sex industry in Second Life. I used to go to these types of sims just to see what was going on. So yeah, basically what we have is like a sex cabin, and each cabin or whatever is like allocated for a specific prostitute who's a real person. He's getting paid to pretend to be this character that then, like, people come here and then they're like, oh, hi, come into my little cabin and let's do simulated sex stuff, and then they get paid to do that, and somehow that all gets back to the sim owner. They get like a cut or something, and then they're able to pay rent. But this is really cool. I mean, I'm just talking about the area, not necessarily what's going on here, but they did a really good job on these buildings and just the landscaping. I kind of, you know, I want to not fly it, but change the draw distance to maximum and go up and see what this whole place looks like from above. But if I did that, it's probably going to just, like, melt down my computer, because this is just, there's so much going on in this sim. Actually, it doesn't really seem that big, so I'm just going to try it out and see what happens. What the hell? Go to straight up to 512. Alright, let's see what's to be seen here. Oh yeah, so this is really big. This is massive. Wow, there's a lot of buildings on here. They really maximize their real estate. Getting like 1 frame a second. Yes, I mean, theoretically, if there was a person in every one of these little cabins, and each one of those persons is charging 2,000 lindens for virtual sex or whatever, that's going to really add up, and in a matter of hours, you could ostensibly raise enough real money to pay your $250 tier or whatever it is. So yeah, business model. Alright, let's change the draw distance back down. But yeah, that's it for my live stream today. I'm trying to limit these to like half an hour or so, just so they're somewhat reasonable and absorbable. I might make longer ones in the future, but at the moment it's not going to be super long. But yeah, this is a pretty fantastic build, just as something to experience, not necessarily. I certainly am not advocating that people come here and engage virtual prostitutes, but definitely come and check this sim out. Just it's a sight to behold, just to look around and see what's going on. And of course, if you do like to look at the sexy female avatars, that's something you could also engage. I'm glad that people are enjoying these, because I got to admit, this for me is like therapy. I really just love exploring Second Life. It's just tremendously fun and exciting and interesting. And this sim is definitely a highlight for me so far, because yeah, I'm definitely sex positive, and this place seems like the best version of prostitution that I've seen in Second Life so far. So good job, creators. Huh, cool. Well, yeah, so I'm gonna close the stream here in a second, but thanks for watching, and I'll be doing this again soon, and take care, everybody.